Hey guys, it's Rich with your Monday Spot on the Pagan Perspective, and this week we're talking about responsibility. This is a team member topic that states, do you think pagans or your type of pagan have certain responsibilities? If so, what? So, in general, I think that at least for me, let me fix my collar there real quick. I have on not the Monday shirt, but anyway, for me, I think, at least for me and my practice, there comes a certain sense of responsibility. And I think there's a little bit of responsibility that is taken on by anybody that will openly proclaim themselves a witch, a pagan, or any of the umbrella, any of the subsections underneath paganism, such as Wiccan, Druid, etc., etc., etc. So I think that there is a certain responsibility whenever you proclaim that you are to the world, when you come out of the broom closet, that there is a sense of you need to be able to educate people. I'm not talking about putting on classes or anything. I'm talking about that if somebody says something like, well, there are a bunch of, baby sacrificing, people out there and this and that, that you can actually sit there and say, no, I know these people and that is not what they do. I think there is a certain responsibility that comes with proclaiming yourself as a pagan, as a witch, or any subgroup thereof. So I think that there is a certain responsibility for education and at least correcting people who are misled into believing some of these tall tales out there and whatnot. Do I think it's necessarily a thing that has to be done? No. You can sit back and let people believe what they believe, but if you're going to do that, don't get angry whenever they say something and you're like, oh, that's just so not true, or I hate the stigma that is put on witches or pagans. Don't be one of those people that will sit there and say, well, that's not true, because you didn't take any steps to educate anybody about this. So I think there is a certain amount of responsibility, whether you want to go forth with it or not, that is on you. And I think a lot of it has to do with educating the masses. Like I said, it's not one of those you have to make a video and teaching the what the Wiccan Read means or what the threefold law means or anything like that. You don't have to be a teacher, but whenever those moments, those teachable moments do come up and people, say something that's out and out not true, that you sit there and say, you know what, you're incorrect about that, and I happen to know that you're incorrect about that. Always keeping yourself safe, and if it's going to be a confrontation where it's going to come to blows, that you protect yourself in whatever ways you need to do. And sometimes that includes not saying anything at all, because sometimes you're not in a group of people that will be receptive. So I think those are some things that need to be taken into consideration whenever you are calling out these people. Do I think it's necessarily something that should be there? No. People should be free to believe whatever they believe without any stigma attached. And whenever you come up to somebody in, let's say, easy example is Christianity, you can go up to a Christian and say, what is it that you specifically believe with regards to the Bible and biblical teachings? And they can probably rattle off something that's not necessarily in line with the church that they go to. You'll find that a lot with Catholics. You'll find that a lot, very much you'll find that in the Jewish community. So I think they say wherever you find 10 rabbis gathered together, you'll get 20 different opinions. So stuff like that, same thing can be said about witches. So it's important for people to actually take other people's beliefs at face value as a jumping off point and saying, what is it that you actually believe, you yourself specifically, rather than taking the route of, well, I know everything about your belief system and it's wrong. So I think that's something important to keep in mind whenever you're coming up to anybody, is that people will have different beliefs for whatever reasons. Maybe there's something that does not align within their belief system to what they actually believe, but overall, the overall belief system that they believe in is something that rings true for them. So I think that's something to keep in mind. And I think that's something that should be a right that should be given to pagans and witches out there who have a stigma attached and is portrayed in media depictions, whether it be through television or movies or through the satanic panic of the 80s and early 90s. You know, I think that it is the right that should be given to all people. So, yeah, I definitely think education is a responsibility when you take up the mantle of pagan, witch, or any variation thereof. I think that's all that I have for this week. Other responsibilities is, if you see somebody that needs help, you help them. And this can just be acts of kindness by, extending a helping hand or being somebody there to listen. And I think that's something important as well. But some people aren't necessarily called to be the counselor, and some people are. So those responsibilities differentiate between person to person. But I think the education aspect that I have constantly touted as my big thing, I think that would be the one thing, the big thing that people now have a responsibility for once they start a practice within the umbrella of paganism. So I think that's all that I have for this week. Until next week, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.